All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you who are new to the program, this is Biz Selling Experts. We discuss how to prepare your business to sell for maximum value. Today, we are super lucky. We are joined by Amir Karkouti. Amir is an entrepreneur. He is the author of multiple books, a coach, a magician, and he's a good buddy of mine, and I'm super grateful that he's here. Welcome, Amir.
Oh man, I've been waiting to do this with you, dude. So thanks for having me. And the books you're talking about, they're picture books, but whatever, they're still books. Worked out.
It counts.
They're pop-up books, man. They're pop-ups. And
Yeah,
don't
pop-up coloring
discount
books.
those.
You're right. You're right. But I'm really excited. I appreciate you having me. For those that are on here, we have been friends for a very long time, since high school, right?
Yeah, man. Most of our lives, I think.
Yeah, and we kind of rekindled, reconnected, and it was awesome. And I happen to run several businesses, and he's like, dude, let's chat, let's hang out. And so we got to talking. I didn't realize that he sells businesses, and I'm like, hey man, we should do an evaluation on my business. And
Yep.
here we are. And I was like, we
Yeah.
should record this and see where it goes.
Yeah, yeah. And what I wanted to do is I really wanted to explore how, you've evolved as a business owner. And let's be clear, you're not selling your company.
No, I'm not selling my company right now.
But, that this isn't forever. There's an eventual exit on the horizon.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult, thought process for a lot of business owners. So I really think it's important to discuss how you think about it, what you've done to prepare, and what you do on an ongoing basis to ensure that you're prepared for whatever life throws at you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. So I've owned and operated restaurants here in San Diego for over 30 years. Started with the family. It's a family-owned company. My dad, still in his 80s, comes and bags food at my restaurants, and he goes to Costco, and he loves doing it. And so it's a really personal adventure for me. And it's not just a family business. This is truly how my parents, my family survive, and like how we pay the bills. And so it's generational for me, right? And moving forward, I have to make decisions with, like, do I keep this in the family for my daughter? Do I, do all these things? And it actually came to me. I wrote one thing down, and I wanted to start with when you said it's an exit strategy. And I actually realized it's not an exit strategy. What you taught me when I was on a phone call with you, it's actually a commitment strategy. You have to be committed to have a plan. You have to have a commitment to have a structure to get out. And you have a commitment to have to deal with the emotional things that can happen with having a family business. I didn't realize all that was involved when thinking of exiting. Because I thought it's just, oh, you exit, you make a bunch of money, and you leave or something. You're
Right.
right. Yeah, right. All of a sudden, you're asking me, like, what happens with your parents? What happens with your brother? What happens with this? What happens with your employees? And I'm like, oh, it's not just like, here's your money, have a nice day. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a big deal to talk about. This is no joke, and you have to have somebody that actually understands this inside and out. So that was my main thing I first learned.
There's so many factors involved. There's so many moving parts, and a lot of people don't really peel back the layers until they have to sell. It takes a lot more planning than I think people realize. But I wanted to start and talk about what you and your family created. Surf Brothers Teriyaki is, one of those restaurants that has ingrained itself into a community. Lots of towns have, a special place that has that it factor, really. And your business has that. And I think you and your family understood how to make a real connection with the community early on.
Yeah, I grew up in the town that I have my restaurants, both in Encinitas and Carlsbad. We've been around for 30 years. So we started, like, my mom would cut hair during the day and wash dishes in the back at my restaurants in the afternoon. And every once in a while, I went to high school in Encinitas. My friends would come and work after school. There was days where I were stuck there all day, and they would go and pick up food for me or groceries, because I was literally there 10 hours a day and working. That's all I knew. I didn't go to college. Like, this was it. And speaking of exit strategies, the only thing I had was my restaurants. Like, that was it. So starting with just one restaurant in Encinitas, my brother and my dad started it in 1992. I graduated high school in 97, and I opened up 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 7 restaurants. We lost a couple restaurants because we made really bad business decisions. And so we had to figure that out, recalibrate. And now we have 3 very flourishing restaurants that are doing really well. Like you said, I have a 10-year-old daughter, so I give back to the community, back to the schools that I was alumni from, like
Yeah.
and things like that. That's not what I've always wanted to be in business for, is not just to have a business, but to be a part of the community. And food is one of those things that's always in community, whether you're
Yep.
buying food for a wedding, a funeral, a party, a graduation. Like, I've been a part of all of that in the last 30 years, and it's amazing. It's such a gift to be in an industry that you get to see people in their best times and unfortunately the worst times.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's an incredible accomplishment. It's one of those places that I think about throughout my life as being a really important place to me. I used to go and hang out with you guys for hours. Just,
You're one of the guys,
just hanging out.
one of the friends that would come and hang out with me, literally.
Yeah, it
And
was amazing. It was
that's,
awesome.
yeah, it's really.
But you mentioned the growth and the growing pains, and the road is never a straight line, right?
Oh no.
There are a few bumps, maybe some U-turns. It can get a little rocky sometimes.
Absolutely. And I almost lost the whole business. I actually had to at one point sell my house, move back with my parents,
Oh my gosh.
and it was insane.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was about now 11, 12 years ago. Again, we overexpanded without really realizing some of our metrics, which spending time with you and realizing when you're asking me for 10 pieces of information and going back and forth, and I'm going, why do you need to parse this out? I'm realizing, like, you're probably seeing it too. A lot of business owners probably aren't good as they need to be with their metrics. And it's really, really good to
Yep.
clean up your stuff, not just for when it's an exit strategy, but for when you're still in your business. It's
Yep.
good to know your numbers now. When I would talk to you and you gave me my numbers, and I'm like, oh, actually, this is doing really well. And here's some places I need to be careful, where I need to improve, and what I need to
Yep.
watch out for. I did not realize those things that you pointed out.
Yeah, we're going to get to mindset. We're going to get to when you realized that instead of running a business, that you're building an asset, really,
That's
right?
exactly what it is, right?
When do you think that occurred? When do you think that mindset kind of shifted from I'm a business owner to, I have a really valuable asset that I need to protect, take care of, and to provide a really strong foundation for?
Well, I think it's when I became like a father and a family man. Like, I'm just talking
Yep.
recently. I've been for 10 years. My daughter's 10 years old. But recently, just thinking about legacy, thinking about what's next for her. Are we always, having a restaurant? I'm kind of stuck in San Diego. Not that I don't like San Diego, but what if I want to move somewhere else? Is that possible with having restaurants? That may not be. What if my daughter goes to college somewhere? And I realized from that point of view, I'm like, this is an asset. And if this asset is valuable, but I need to do something else, what would be a substitute asset that could do something similar, or that would give me more time or more flexibility? That's when I started to realize, from being a restaurant owner to being an asset manager, in a sense, it gives you actually more freedom and more ways to look at it from, okay, is this asset going to be valuable in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? Is this asset keeping me from having the freedom to do other decisions? And when I spoke to you, that's how I started looking at it. And I'm like, this is the way I should be looking at my business. I would have probably made better business decisions 12 years ago had I seen this as an asset instead of, I just need to open up a bunch of restaurants and see how it goes. And so what I'm trying to say is, you screwed me up 12 years ago. You should have been around to help me out. So that I'm blaming on you is what I was trying to get to. So
Yeah. Well, I think the reality of it is that you and your family have really have a very good business sense. The proof's in the pudding. 30 years in business. There's a lot of tough waters to navigate during that time, as you kind of briefly mentioned. But what systems or habits do you remember implementing early on that paid off later?
So, for those that haven't been to my restaurant, one of the biggest things is that we have a very simple menu. We have 3 things on our menu. So, one of the things that I've really capitalized on is efficiency. Now, that doesn't mean if you have 10 things on your menu or 20, you can't do it. For me, the less I had, the more I could focus on employee retention, the more I could focus on getting my staff to be deeply connected to the customers that come in, because they're not spending a lot of their time face backwards trying to make the food. They can actually make the food, turn around, and spend time with customers. That was kind of built into the system, and I love that. I didn't even realize that until when I went, why is there, when I go to some restaurants, the staff isn't aware that I'm even there? Why is it that they're taking a long time? Someone comes into my restaurant, you get your food in about 2 minutes or less. But if you see, all the grills and everything is open facing, so you actually see the food being cooked at all times. And so we have a very transparent kitchen. Everything and everyone is right in front of you. We can't hide anything. And that was done on purpose. I wanted to be very transparent and very visible because I'm also a consumer. I want to have that same kind of visibility when I go to restaurants. A lot of times you don't get to see that. And so having a limited menu like that allows that. And so that's one of the main successes, is the fact that even though we're a quick serve restaurant, I would say that our food is like high end food at quick serve prices and a quick serve model. And that's a very rare thing to have. Now, during COVID, that really helped us out because people still wanted to have really good food. Unfortunately, a lot of the high-end restaurants got hit really hard because, first of all, they wouldn't let people go eat at high-end restaurants, and secondly, it was very difficult for them to do deliveries. No one wanted a T-bone steak that's $25 being delivered by DoorDash. So we're in that center place, and even today, weddings are something that we're really thriving in because you're not paying a bunch for a wedding, but they're also getting high quality food. So we're right in that middle niche that I don't know if that was by design or by accident, but we've kind of just navigated in our last 30 years that being in that smack middle with high quality food really works. People still need to eat, but they're still price conscious. They still don't want to pay, $30 for a plate, but they also don't want to eat something that's unhealthy. And we're right smack in the middle. So that's been my bread and butter.
Being a regular customer for the last 30 years, I can attest to the fact that you guys have had the most remarkable consistency that I have ever experienced in the restaurant industry. It's incredible. I mean, the fact that you guys have been able to create this limited menu, you didn't get too complicated, you didn't get too fancy, and you've been able to produce the best food over and over again, year after year after year. It's remarkable. And it's really a testament to your ownership and the fact that you guys are you understand what customers are looking for. The other thing is, I think that you guys were so far ahead of your time when it comes to how you designed your kitchen. Because I think that a lot of restaurants are copying that open concept and, that personal kind of connection that you get when you're seeing your food prepared and you're able to make that connection with the staff. It's a special experience. And you guys have produced that since day one. And it's remarkable that you're able to touch on that.
Yeah, and for those that ever stop by, the minute you're at the parking lot, you can smell it. The grill is so strong. I mean, the minute you go outside, someone always says, "Is that your restaurant?" They walk in, they're like, "Oh, it's you." It's like free marketing. And that one I didn't do by design. It's just that we're constantly cooking. I've been very blessed because of the customers I have. We have customers that have been coming in for like Mark for 30 years. Being in a quick serve, turnover is very high. I've had employees with me for over 15 years. It really is a cumulative, holistic approach. I'm not in the restaurant business. I'm in the business of making sure everyone thrives, making sure that, for example, like even some of the deliveries that are for my big customers, I will still be the one taking it for them. Not because I need to, it's because I still want to have a pulse in how it looks when I go there, how my customers and clientele are doing. And that personal approach really makes a difference. And so I know a lot of people say you should work on your business and not in. I think that you should have a balance and do both. I think it's not an either or. I like to be in my business because I want to get a pulse with my employees, and I work on my business, and that's why it's been really refreshing to be able to work with Mark because I get to do that with you. Something I learned is you need to have an outside expert for on your business, whether that's my CPA, whether that's an attorney, and now someone that's really familiar with exit strategies and valuations of businesses. That part was actually missing, and I didn't know how valuable that part is because you do work with the CPA, you do work with everyone else because there's a lot of legal things you need to know, and so you'll be like, here's what you should ask your attorney or your CPA. So you're a huge liaison to that piece that I didn't realize I needed. So a big thank you to you, man, because that's really
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's an interesting point too, because sometimes when you're so involved, it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle, in a way when you're so involved in the business day to day, or, having an outside expert in a specific area really helps shed some light sometimes on the big picture of things, whether that's CPA, business advisors, anything can be super helpful. So I hate to put you on the spot, but For any owners that are listening right now, is there one thing that you would advise them to start doing immediately, even if they're not considering, selling within the next year or two? Is there one thing that you'd recommend starting now?
Yeah, I mean, it was what I stated in the beginning with not don't have an exit strategy, have a commitment strategy. Be committed to your business, which means understand your numbers. Because when you know your numbers, you'll have a better plan. Because when you don't know your numbers, you're still going to have a plan. It's just going to be terrible because you're sailing, not knowing where you're going. You don't have a working GPS. You might get, from San Diego to Tennessee, but if you'll just get there faster, safer, and that's one of the things I will reiterate. This is not scripted. This is not like Mark is telling me this. I'm the one that said I want to get on this call because of how valuable you were. I honestly believe that because there's so many business owners that think they got this until they talk to you and they go, maybe I didn't have it as much as I thought. And that's a good thing. You shouldn't be afraid. Even if you don't know your numbers, you shouldn't be afraid. And I will admit, I don't know my numbers as much as I should, but thank goodness, one of the things I will say that Mark was tremendously valuable for was he was the question, not the answer. Why are you doing it this way? Can you consider seeing it this way? What would happen if we did this? That's the kind of thing I was looking for because it put it back on me as a business owner. Here's the other one. You said put me on the spot. If I'm the problem, then I can be the solution. I see a lot of business owners. It's the economy. Oh, it's the president. And granted, maybe, every 4 years there's a new president, new problems, and new economy, and things can always have effects for us. But if I can be the problem, I can also be the solution. I can fix things in front of me that's local, not global. I can't fix the global stuff, but I can fix the trajectory of things that are local that's right in front of me. And those are the things that, like I said, the structure, the emotional things, for example, like what's going to happen with your parents. Mark mentioned that, with a lot of these exits, you might have a best friend that you worked with and all of a sudden like relationships changed or they don't want to sell and you want to sell. What do you do in that event? What do you do in those situations? I didn't even think about that kind of stuff because I just thought, again, it's just you sell and everyone shakes hand and goes away. Like my mom and my dad, they're on payroll. What do I do with them? And so you have to have that stuff in consideration. If I sell my business, do they still get an income? Because at this point, it's not infinite now, it's finite. The money starts to get depleted. So how do I share the piece of the pie? It's things that you don't consider, Rick. And I woke up to the fact, and one more thing that does for me, it slowed me down. Like I was like, all right, Mark, give me the numbers. Let's go sell. And I'm going to go on vacation. And he actually taught me like, well, let's hold off a minute. Because when you hold off a minute, you get more clarity. When you get more clarity is when you start to make better decisions. Again, that goes back to becoming more committed into your business. You become an asset as well. It's not just now your business. You become an asset because the more valuable you become, the more valuable your other asset becomes. My restaurants or my whatever asset you're in is only as good as the person steering the ship.
Yep.
Right? Like the ship is the asset, but the captain is directing the asset where it's going to head.
Yeah. I mean, the knowledge that you get from examining your business and peeling back the layers and understanding, what's working and what needs attention, that's the knowledge, that's the asset. That's how you're going to develop that exit that's going to be meaningful for you.
100%. And again, that's when Rick, Mark, you guys come in. That's where the better questions lead to better answers kind of thing happens. So,
man, Amir, this has been an incredible conversation. It highlights something that I think everybody needs to hear, including business owners, setting aside business owners. Everybody should understand that throughout life, there are exits. There are exits in business and preparing is critical. So I think that you did an incredible job explaining that, not only from a business owner's perspective, but from, just a human being perspective. So I really appreciate that. An exit isn't about selling tomorrow. It's about building a stronger and more valuable business today. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to BizSellingExpert for more insights on maximizing business value, reducing risk, and preparing for a successful future exit. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me.